Halloween. It's a time for spookies, for scaries, and you better believe it's for skeletons. It's also the time when content creators salivate and start to crank out videos relating to the spookiness of the season. And you know me, whenever there is a bandwagon, I'm right on there. But what possible games could I be considering to play? Well, in all honesty, I don't know why I'm asking. You likely clicked on the video, so you know what it's all about. Unless you fell asleep on another video and your YouTube is autoplaying this video. In that case, sleep well. But also like, comment and subscribe. A lot of the games I've covered are admittedly older ones I've played in the past, especially ones from my childhood. I'm currently in my mid-20s and I grew up with the PlayStation 1 and 2, which absolutely had an abundance of horror games. On Schoolyard, all my friends would brag about how far they were in Silent Hill, Resident Evil, or some of the more spookier games they could get their tiny little clammy hands over. But here's the problem. 10-Year-Old War was an absolute and utter shitebag in every sense of the word. Anything to do with horror was a no-go for me. No, the most I'd go for was safe and reliable old-fashioned Scooby-Doo. Where art thou? Scooby-Doo Night of 100 Frights was originally released in 2002 on the GameCube and PlayStation 2, with an Xbox port coming the following year. Throughout the game, the player controls Scooby through multiple levels surrounding a haunted mansion and its surrounding areas. Now, to begin with, Scooby has the ability to jump and grab certain items to swing from, which helps solidify the main basis of the game. Night of 100 Frights is a platformer, where the player is expected to explore the lands by jumping across large chasms and over some fiendish enemies. There are essentially 4 main areas that the game is split into, which consist of the area where the mystery machine is kept, the fishing village to the east, the hedge mazes to the west, and the manor itself, which sits to the north. Each of these main sections split into smaller subsections, such as the balconies and rooftops of the manor, or the graveyards located just after passing through the hedge maze. There's even the secret passages. You know it's not really a secret if you print them on a map. And then there's even the super secret laboratories. Again, it's not so super secret if the world in Scooby-Doo consists of passing through levels in these areas. However, along the way, the player encounters barriers to progressing through certain areas known as snack gates. In order to pass through these, Scooby needs to collect as many Scooby snacks as he can, as they somehow become some sort of currency. Finding Scooby snacks in itself isn't a particularly daunting task, as there are a number of them laid around the area. Now, often they're found floating in the middle of the air, although if Scooby is lucky, you'll find a box nearby which consists of 5 Scooby snacks. Once enough of these Scooby snacks are collected, he'll be able to pass through the snack gates. Scooby snacks consist of the majority of the collectibles in the game, and are pretty important to completing the game. Also collectible, although not nearly as important, are monster tokens that are hidden around the area. These tokens don't actually impact the game and are often hidden pretty well, but once collected they allow the player to access information on the monster through the monster gallery. Across the levels are a large assortment of enemies, such as smaller enemies which can be squished, or larger enemies which represent monsters from the TV series and appear in large numbers, such as the creeper and the zombies. At first, Scooby can't do anything but run away from these enemies. However, as the player progresses through the game, they begin to encounter more abilities to use. Some items are given to Scooby, such as springs, which allow him to double jump in the air, and an umbrella, which allow him to float through the air Mary Poppins style, or to float on updrafts. He also manages to find plungers and galoshes, which allow him to walk up steep areas and to move freely on tar respectively. These items are extremely important, as it helps the player make it through certain areas where the simple basics of Scooby won't suffice in travelling. Not all of these items are limited to just helping him traverse the world. Scooby eventually finds more of these inventions, such as a lamp and bunny slippers, which lets him sneak by enemies and hide, and is then replaced by the Knight suit of armour, which I'm pretty sure does absolutely nothing extra. Eventually he manages to get abilities that allow him to attack, such as a football helmet invention. I mean, it's not an invention, it's just a football helmet. He also receives a lightning bolt, which allows him to smash down on enemies from above. And he also gains the ability to blow bubblegum and soap bubbles, which lets him stick enemies to the spot temporarily to bounce off, or to trap them in a soap bubble to help reach higher ledges. At certain points, these items can be found by exploring the world and finding them, but sometimes there are inventions that require Scooby to vanquish a boss. There are 4 boss battles in the game, which are further representation of the villains from the TV show. Some examples are the Black Knight, the Green Ghost, and Captain Redbeard. Each time that Scooby meets a boss, the OST changes to a band just straight up singing about the boss, and if that isn't incredible, then I don't know what to tell you. Each enemy is dangerous to Scooby, and if he gets touched by the enemy, then he loses part of his health, represented by 5 of his dog tags in his health. If they all run out, or if Scooby falls off an edge, he's dead. He's gone. You need to let him go. It was 15 years ago, you have to move on. Or to be more accurate, Scooby returns back to the start from the entrance in the area with no life system in place. However, on some occasion, that might make things a bit more difficult. Later levels include a bit more intricate platforming, and there are points where it just seems outright impossible to collect items without dying. I mean, what is this? In order to prevent this, Scooby can find food hidden around the area or dropped by enemies, like cake, chicken drumsticks, or sandwiches. I wouldn't really trust a sandwich that's been held onto a decaying zombie, Scoob. Likewise, I wouldn't really trust one that's been buried underground for who knows how long. Due to the requirements that have the necessary items to bypass certain obstacles, there is a lot of backtracking through the game across the large map. So much backtracking that I'd probably compare the entire game to a Metroidvania game. Those are normally 2D games, but the definition of a Metroidvania game is that it features a large interconnected world map the player can explore, though access to parts of the world is often limited by doors or other obstacles that can only be passed once the player has acquired special items, tools, weapons, abilities, or knowledge within the game. And that sums up the gameplay of Scooby-Doo Night of 100 Frights. There is a significant amount of branching paths for the player to take, some of which aren't accessible until Scooby receives the required invention to pass through. The amount of backtracking might seem daunting, but Scooby has access to an assortment of warp pads scattered across the world map. Once he runs into them, he unlocks this area and can use the warp pad to teleport to another warp pad. Now, for some reason, the player seems to hail his greatest inventions as a football helmet and galoshes, and yet doesn't seem to realise he's literally invented ways to transport matter across the world within seconds. Scooby also encounters most of the gang as they explore, but none appear as much as the absolute shagger himself, Shaggy, who often appears doing his own thing, like showing up in a lawnmower to help his boy across one of the more poorly kept gardens I've ever seen. On some occasions, Scooby can pick up Shaggy to throw him and use him to reach out of reach areas, such as by having him press buttons, or to throw him up to grab something and to swing from his scrawny legs. However, every time Shaggy just mysteriously disappears. At each boss, Scooby finds a member of the gang, where they're all virtually useless in every sense of the word, aside from Daphne during the Green Ghost fight. But even then, you're on thin ice, Blake. Eventually, Scooby reaches the endgame in the super secret laboratory, TM, where the gang are all standing across from a pool of acid. How did... Oh, okay, well, we cross over and Scooby decides that he's had enough, only for Velma to try to coerce him by offering him a Scooby snack. You know what, Velma? Screw you. I've done nothing but collect goddamn Scooby snacks, and you think you can buy us off like usual? We have a little bit more integrity than that.
How about a whole box of Scooby snacks?
Okay. Well, I'm ready.
Never mind. Fred has an idea to take on the mastermind, and it involves Scooby doing everything. Like, really, the rest of the gang are just standing there watching Scooby get mauled to death, just standing there smiling and giving a thumbs up. You know what, fuck you, Fred. After defeating the mastermind, they're sucked up in a pipe and revealed to be Professor Alexander Graham, in a shocking twist. But then suddenly it's revealed that this shocking twist is a prelude to yet another shockinger twist, that the real mastermind is Holly, trying to frame her uncle. The game ends, although not before we're treated to some of the most 2000s style ending music I've ever seen. Eurobeat. Want to make sure you don't miss out on the next Noir Reservoir video when it's released? Then make sure you don't forget to subscribe to Noir Reservoir and click that little bell down there to be kept up to date on all future Noir Reservoir videos. Likes and comments are always appreciated too. So until next time, my friends, I'll catch you later.
Something strange is